Hey there everybody, Steve the Amateur Historian, coming to you from downtown Portland. Part historic, part new, it's just kind of all peppered together at this point in this part of the city. And I've got a very interesting case here, a case that almost had more controversy because of the conviction than the actual case itself. Join me, going back to 1889, another case of historic murders of Portland. So I am at the intersection of 3rd Avenue and Alder Street in southwest Portland. And specifically, I actually want to get across this intersection because the case in question did not happen here. It actually happened right across the street here. Alright. So this right here where I'm standing, this is the specifically northwest corner of 3rd and Alder Street. Now, mind you, it's 2019 now, and this case comes to us from 1889. That means this case is 130 years old. And yet, exactly 130 years old, right here at this corner of the intersection, two guys that had bad blood came together. And, you know, I think any major city in the 1880s, when two guys with bad blood come together, one of them's probably going to get shot. So it's the afternoon of May 11th, 1889. And two guys that are very fond of the gambling games, a guy named Sandy Olds and a guy named Emil Weber, or it may have been Weber, I'm not sure. It's spelled a couple different ways. But anyway, these two guys, either intentionally or on accident, both came together right at this corner, the northwest corner of 3rd and Alder. And these guys had bad blood primarily because Weber, I'm going to call him Weber because that makes the most sense. Weber essentially was owed money by Sandy Olds, and Sandy wasn't paying up, and it got to a point where it went from some kind of this is a loan, pay me back situation to frustration, and it just built and built and built. And literally a week earlier, the two had encountered each other and actually got into a fairly physical altercation. It seems Weber was kind of getting a little bit more than fed up with being evaded by Sandy Olds. They said that Olds would, you know, he knew where Weber was all the time, and he would actively, like, if Weber, like, worked, like, at this building across the street, and Olds would be coming down the street, he'd go a block down and kind of circle around to avoid the establishment so that they wouldn't have an encounter with each other. He was scared for his life. It seems like this Weber guy was not a guy he was like a mobster. He was a guy you don't take money from and then don't pay him back. So it was a situation where things were brewing and brewing and brewing, and it was only inevitable that things would hit a peak. So this altercation that came a week earlier happened in front of a place called the Crystal Palace Saloon. So in the immediate aftermath of that altercation, Emil Weber apparently returned to the saloon looking for Olds and said, as he was quoted in the newspaper, he said he was gonna do him up. Now, we all know what that means. So Sandy Olds was desperate. He knew he had a marker on his back. He was carrying a weapon because he obviously felt he needed to defend himself. And I mean, a lot of people in 1880s Portland were probably walking around with guns. I mean, people were getting mugged at every street corner. I mean, people, you know, this guy was hardly the only person that did that. But anyway, The two are somewhere along this block, and Olds is at the intersection right across the street. He sees Emil Weber coming, and Weber does the dumbest thing he possibly could, which is he's walking towards Olds and he reaches his hand into his pocket. So Olds pulls out his gun and shoots him. Quick, gun out, boom, shot right to the face. And of course his claim was, this guy's had it out for me, and he reached into his pocket. He was going for a gun. And witnesses in the aftermath said he was pulling out a gold weight. So I don't know if maybe he was anti-gun or what. He thought he was going to beat this guy with a brass weight or something. But yeah, it all happened right across the street at this intersection here. And of course in the aftermath, that was Olds' claim, was it was self-defense. This guy was out for me, he threatened my life, and he came at me, so I shot him to defend myself. The problem with that story, as in the case of a lot of self-defense stories, is after this guy shoots Weber once, Weber immediately goes down. He's not moving. The metal weight is found next to him later. It's obvious he doesn't have a weapon. He's not going for it. Olds then proceeds to empty whatever he has left into Weber. I think he shot him 4 or 5 times. So when a guy's down on the ground like that, not moving, and you just keep shooting him, it transitions from self-defense, manslaughter, to murder at that point, when obviously this person is not in a position to defend himself, and you just keep firing. Maybe it's out of paranoia. You gotta make sure this guy's gone, because if he walks away from this at all, he's gonna have even more reason to come after you. I don't know. But yeah, the whole self-defense thing started to fall apart pretty quickly for this guy. But it was a problematic case, because it wasn't a cold-blooded murder, it seems. He wasn't waiting at the intersection, just waiting for the guy to come. He wasn't following Weber around trying to find him to kill him. It was a matter of time before they came into contact again, and something was going to happen. So they didn't have really any evidence of premeditated murder. It was a shooting. It was a shooting that clearly was not just done one shot to run away. So is it manslaughter? Is it second-degree murder? What is it? So this case it was inevitable that this case was going to cause a lot of havoc in the courtroom. And if Olds was found guilty, there was going to be a lot of appeals. And there were.